wish to not have your video on or your name, please feel free to change it at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Lieber.
We are so excited to see you all. And we're so excited that the fifth graders are joining us tonight, some of the fifth grade class. And we know some of you are joining on YouTube.
You're muted.
Beth, you're muted.
You muted yourself.
Oh, somebody muted me. Sorry. I don't know when I got muted, but just wanted to say a special welcome to our fifth graders who are joining us tonight here on Zoom and on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you are here on Zoom with us tonight, fifth graders, will you just raise your hand so we can see you and give us a wave? It is so wonderful. Hi, you guys. And of course, fifth graders today, you got a really special delivery, which we'll be talking about soon. Give me a thumbs up, you guys. Did you get your delivery today? Thumbs up. Excellent. And do you have them ready? You have them ready? All right. Excellent. Wonderful. So we are here tonight on this Refugee Shabbat that is sponsored by Hayas, which we'll hear more about in a little bit. And I just also want to mention before we begin singing that it was 1 year ago tonight that services were led still in the sanctuary with only 2 people in the sanctuary, Dan Lieber and me. And it was an unforgettable experience, I think, for both of us, something that we will never forget, what it was like to go from 1 week, of course, singing with everybody and praying with everybody and schmoozing with everybody, to the very, very quiet of what it was like that night. And I will never forget what it was like after that service. By the time I got home, I believe I had 30 texts and emails just from people saying, oh my goodness, thank you for leading that service, because we had all gone into this new world that we've now been living in for a year. So for those of you who are tracking this, which is probably all of us, Rabbi Cari and Bailey and I have decided to mark this year on Sunday morning from 10:20 to 10:40, joining our learning course students to mark as a community what this year has been for us. And we hope you'll be able to join us. And tonight we just extend to you the warmest welcome for this Shabbat of Friday night, March 12th. As we say, how good it is to be together, from my heart, from our hearts to yours, connected in this sacred Zoom room of ours, how sweet it is. Let's sing ourselves in this Shabbat with Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam. All right, fifth graders, I'm listening for you. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim
And as Beth said, Shabbat has carried this community through this year when we've had to be apart. For a year now, we have marked sacred time and sacred community, refusing to let distance stop us from acknowledging Shabbat. And in many ways, that is true of Judaism for centuries, for thousands of years. We have celebrated Shabbat, celebrated community and sacred time in ways that change and differ, but in ways that keep us connected, that help us to rest each week, to reflect each week, and also to tell the story to ourselves and to our community each week about why it is we rest and reflect. And each week when we lift a Kiddush cup, which we will do shortly as a community together, we say the words Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, to remember going out of Egypt. I think often we think of celebrating the Exodus from Egypt once a year in the holiday called Passover, which is coming up in just a couple weeks. But actually, each week, when we come to Shabbat, we remember that we went free out of Egypt. And we recall that ancient journey from slavery to freedom each week. And we think of other times throughout Jewish history that our people have wandered in search of safety. Many, many times we found ourselves forced out of our homelands, feared simply for being who we were. But each time we were held together by community. We were assisted by those who risked their lives and their safety to protect us. And we continued to survive against all odds. And eventually our hearts grew to hold others who would come to experience what we had experienced because we were Jewish. On Shabbat, we fill a Kiddush cup every week to overflowing, and I hope you fifth graders got some sweet juice and have some ready on hand for when we light our candles and we sing our Kiddush together. But when we fill that cup on Shabbat, we're actually supposed to always fill it just a little bit past halfway, if not all the way up to the top. A way to say, let the sweetness and the joy and the freedom of this moment spread into the week and overflow. And so it is today, especially when fifth graders are here with us, that we think of our job to welcome refugees and asylum seekers and those who would seek safety in our community today. When we remember the Exodus from Egypt, the Torah tells us you are supposed to know the soul of a stranger. And so it becomes our responsibility to protect the rights of refugee and asylum seekers because we know what that feels like. Today, when we gather on Shabbat, we remember Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, what it means to go forth from Egypt. It means that we know those who were forced. We know the feeling, we can understand the feeling of those who were forced to leave their homelands. And we can make sure to build worlds that offer them sweetness and safety, help and hope. Chai has prepared for us a video to consider not just what we offer to refugees and asylum seekers, but how they enrich our lives as well.
Hola, mi nombre es Diogenes, de profesión médico cirujano en la ciudad de Lima, Perú. Меня зовут Юрий Вов, и работаю я в MTA.
Me llamo Sacha Soto, vivo en Caraballo y hago comidas a delivery.
My name is Yadu. I'm a medical student at Georgetown, Washington, D.C.
My name is Bhagavat. I'm a business owner.
And we are refugee.
Soy refugiada.
Я беженец.
Y soy un refugiado.
We started Project COVID Care because coronavirus disproportionately threatened marginalized communities. We have donated PPE to homeless population, refugees, and individuals with disabilities. I'm driving to drop off PPE to a health clinic in Alexandria, Virginia. The clinic provides health services regardless of their ability to pay.
We were able to help thousands of people in 12 states and 25 cities.
Oh my God, thank you, Bagadaju.
Me desempeño en el área de epidemiología. Lamentablemente, en lo que llego al Perú, no podía ejercer mi profesión como médico. Debido a la crisis, acudí de manera personal y me contrataron inmediatamente.
Hoy es 2 de junio del 2020. Hubieron en el turno 361 pacientes con COVID positivo, de los cuales hubieron 10 fallecidos en el turno.
Во время коронавируса я подписался на New York Food Delivery. Это доставка еды людям-инвалидам, пожилым людям, всем, кто нуждается. Сейчас беру вот 2 коробочки, это на одну семью. Получается на 6 дней. Еду на следующий адрес.
Entendiendo nosotros que pasamos tantas noches de frío, de necesidades, de hambre, cocino para 20 personas diarias, de las cuales 10 son para donaciones. Y estas personas son sobrevivientes de violencia, refugiados igual que yo, y vulnerables.
This country has given so much to us. And at the time of pandemic, I felt that it is my responsibility to give back.
Decidí ayudar por amor, pero no estoy solo para ayudar.
There are refugees all around the world helping during this pandemic.
I am an infectious disease physician.
I work as a CNA in an assisted living facility.
He confeccionado 800 mascarillas.
I'm helping my community to pound new fuel.
El mundo necesita guerreros buenos con el único propósito de que el mundo sea un mundo mejor, un mundo más bonito.
On Shabbat, we light candles, we sip juice or wine, we taste bread, and we stop. We stop so that when we start again, we continue creating, repairing, and building a world that acknowledges the strength of each individual. Because we remember on Shabbat that we are stronger and that we are strongest even when we come together. So we dedicate ourselves this Shabbat to resting so that we can rebuild this world for all. I believe 5th graders have candles that were delivered to them. Some of you may have candles. So I'm going to ask if we can switch into gallery view, and I'm not sure if it's just my computer that maybe isn't on gallery view at this point. But if you have candles, we would love to see them. And we're going to ask you to light both candles for us, and then Beth is going to lead us all in the blessing of lighting the candles, of adding the light to our community together.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlek ner shel Shabbat.
And last week it was asked, why do some of us make circles with our hands and cover our eyes? There are all sorts of explanations for this, but the one that I like best is that we're really preparing ourselves to enjoy Shabbat, that we bring the light into ourselves, we cover up, and when we open our eyes, we are somehow magically in Shabbat, in a different time, ready to really take that big, deep breath and let go of the stress of the week that has been with us. So I invite you all, take a big, deep breath. It's so beautiful seeing you all lit up with those candles. And then we're going to bless, we're going to make kiddush, that prayer over the sweetness of the wine, where we remember acts of creation and the beauty of resting. And we remember going out from Egypt and the joy that it is to be free. So if you have a Kiddush cup with you, we would love to see the beauty of it, and we will join together in blessing the sweetness of what is ever in your mug or your Kiddush cup. We'll say the blessing and that with Beth, and then we'll drink together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Beth has a mug of grape juice there, we can tell. And challah, that special braided bread that brings the extra joy and the flavor of Shabbat, the sweetness. I love the smell. It always makes my golden retriever stand up when I take it out of the bag next to me, like, am I going to get some of the sweetness of that Shabbat as well? So if you have a challah, share it with the community. If not, reach your hand out, just like when we used to touch each other's shoulders. And we'll sing a motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
It is so wonderful to see your Shabbat tables and to see your families gathered around that Shabbat light. And there are people who have brought such light to our lives in the course of this year. And I just want to lift up Bailey Starr for a moment, our education director. Bailey arranged it so that every single fifth grader received Shabbat candles, grape juice, challah, and I know you guys, you got some other treats as well. And that kind of thoughtfulness, that kind of living into Jewish life and into Jewish time is such a gift. So Bailey, just a thank you to you for being the leader and the educator you are. And could we all just put up our hands for Bailey and for our amazing students? Bailey, did you want to say? Did you want to say?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And I am just thrilled to be bringing in this Shabbat with you. We are so thrilled. And this prayer says, "Come, friends, come on, all of us. We are friends in this community. Let us greet this Shabbat together. Let us make room for peace, for rest," as Rabbi Cari was talking about, for that deep breath. And maybe you even just want to practice a deep breath right now. It's kind of a hard week. Maybe it was a hard week. For me, I am in need of a deep breath this week. Whew. Here we go, you guys. We're going to do our waltzing melody, our gentle waltz. If you feel like dancing, please feel free to do so. When we reach our last stanza, you can stand up and face a door to let in that Shabbat presence, or you can just put your hand over your heart. Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmi'anu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet velit hilah lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nisucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Hit oreri kiva orech kumi ori shir daberi kivod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzola toch emunei am segula. Bo'i kala lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. And we move now into our evening service, our Ma'ariv service. And fifth graders, I know you know many of these prayers and songs, so please sing out, everyone, as we do on these Friday nights, singing out robustly in our Zoomicals, and let us call on the light of our souls, calling ourselves home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, has been such a year of feeling at various times so distant, and getting used to this kind of distance and feeling so close at other times. We found a way to be intimate, to really keep this connection so strong. It's like we're alone and together. And I think about the Shema when we say, listen, everyone, listen up. We are all part of one, every single one of us. And I'm thinking about this evening, this Refugee Shabbat, and pretty soon we'll hear Minnie Halpern speak about her work with refugees, her work with immigration, trying to make something better in this very broken world that we live in. And so tonight, let us join our voices together as we are apart and still so together, connected, part of one, being held together. We are part of something larger than ourselves. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. And joining now in the words of Ve'ahavta, these acts of love, these acts that bring our world together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam laot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. And with Passover only 2 weeks away, 2 weeks and a day away, we turn to the words of Micha Mocha, the crossing of the sea, this song of celebration, the song of Moses and Miriam. Who is like you, God? With a beautiful visual. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Osef Oh Shabbat, as on every Shabbat, we pray for safety, for protection, for all those who live on this planet, especially for those who are feeling most vulnerable tonight. We say, Hashkivenu Adonai, let me lie down in peace and let me rise up in the morning to life renewed. And tonight we'll add in the words of one day, praying for a better future. One day. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing, and then I pray don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose. We all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the waters stay raging. And in this maze, you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it faze you, no way, no way. 'Cause sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, hey, one day. Treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. Someday we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like one day, one day, one day, hey, one day, one day, one day. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Turn to the words of the Amidah, to our silent prayer, to the standing prayer. If you would like to stand in body or in spirit, please feel free to do so. We begin with the words, please God, just open my lips that my mouth may be able to pray. We'll do the first 3 brachot, the first 3 blessings together, and then we'll take some time for some silent reflection. And tonight, as always, Dan Lieber is an artist of these visuals that he creates for our service. Pay some special attention to the visuals that come your way during the Amidah. They tell a story related to the theme of tonight's service. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid ilater. שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
If you are still praying, we hope that the voice of our prayers will accompany rather than interrupt you. In the heart of the Amidah, of this standing prayer where we stand alone and together as a community, we take the time to name, to pray for those who are in need of healing. In the Jewish tradition, when we pray for healing, we pray for shleimut, for wholeness, healing of body, but also of mind and of spirit. If there is somebody you are praying for today, somebody who you are thinking of in your head and your heart, who you'd like to bring into our community, I invite you to name them using the chat function of the technology you are using to join us tonight. Our Temple Shir Tikvah community is praying for Jane Friedman, for Carrie Laban, Harriet and Charles Snyder, Jude Aaronstein, Harriet Levy, Ann Pillow, Brian Fitzgerald, Chris Buteau and the entire Buteau family, Beverly Weinberger, Eliyahu Yona Ben Rivka, Lynn Goldsmith, Jerry Mills, Jerry Kuby, Marion Feldman, Bernice Moy, Colin Berry, Alan and Chris Lee, Wendy Fold, Samantha Bader, Michael Slonim, Paula Kravitz, Robbie Tovey, Sonia Marks, Judy Angel, Jeanne Borowski, Andy A., Leah and Patrick Young, for Jeff Alexander, Alan and Joanne Travis, Fiona Sutton, Jeanette DeMarco, Marla Weiner, Nelson Lovins, Jill and Louis Landsberg, Joyce Bean, Kristen Geffen, Norman and Fran Waxler, Sue Boardman, Angela Panzone, Linda and Fred Lukasik, Nancy Alpert, Lester Siegel, Ed Snow, for Emma Watkins, Izzy Morse, the Mortel family, Janice Wiesenfeld, Joel Seiner, Rosalind Hoffman, Judy Planchin, Bernice Hutzler-Stein, Debbie Gilman, Neil Daniels Midman, Abraham Lyon, Patty Shepard, Mary Jane Gendro, for Jennifer Chase and Ellen Lee, Judy Donaldson, Rabbi David Nelson, Jeff Bray, Arlene Edelson, Vicki Oman, Melissa Martin and her daughter Cassie, for Ken Blumberg, Jimmy Krasnow, Asher Guy Ben Chava Hirschmuel, Justin and Jen Alexander, Gladys Schuker, Claude Lieber, Nancy Lazaro Lieber, Bob Friedman, for Kathy Nath, and Mason Lee. For all those named, for all who are named in our hearts, for this whole world in this midst of a pandemic, we pray for healing.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yevarech veYirapeh et hacholim Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yevarech veYirapeh et hacholim. Turn to the final prayer of the Amidah, the prayer for peace. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. May the one who makes peace way up high in the high heavens, help us to make peace here. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace descend on all of us, and Yisrael, let us say amen. Let's make it around. Oh, say shalom v'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace descend on all of us, and Yisrael, let us say amen. Let us say amen. Let us say amen. It is a great honor to welcome Minnie Halpern to speak to us tonight. Minnie, we're so glad you are here, and in the glow of the fifth graders' Shabbat candles, we welcome your voice in this service so strongly and so warmly. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Great. So I just want to talk a little bit tonight about an organization I feel really honored to be a part of. About 2.5 years ago, I started volunteering for them, and they're called Boston Immigration, Justice, and Accompaniment Network. And because that name's kind of long, we started just calling it not Beyond, but we started calling it Beyond. The kind of things that Beyond does is, at least at the beginning, was arranging for volunteers to accompany immigrants to immigration court to show solidarity with them. And then we also were helping to bond immigrants out of ICE detention. Super quick FYI, ICE means Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Basically, the organization, US organization that picks people up at the border and detains them. Bonding people out involve first raising the funds for each case. In some instances, it was around $5,000 over time. It just started increasing until it could be $20,000 to bond a single person out. So Beyond would use things like GoFundMe or whatever, to try to raise the money. And then we started just needing to have the families try to help out, give as much as they could. So recent immigrants don't usually have bank accounts or credit cards. So sometimes I've picked up bags of cash on street corners from family members, like over $5,000 in cash. Nothing illegal, just felt really weird. So getting the money was just the start. We would arrange for someone to go to the Burlington ICE building. I know that a lot of people know a lot about that building, and pay the bond. And then we would have other volunteers who would pick the person up and bring them to their destination. Often that meant the Greyhound bus depot, where yet other volunteers would meet the person, buy them their ticket, and give them things like a backpack, a burner phone, warm clothes, gift cards, buy them money and food for a few days to get them where they were going. Often that was across the whole country. Now, most of these immigrants had already applied for asylum in the US. Often they were coming out of detention, having had all their paperwork, passports, credit cards, cell phones taken from them, and not surprisingly, not returned to them when they came out. People in, you know, their home countries were fleeing drug lords, threats of murder and kidnapping, and were often very bewildered to be then thrown in jail when they were expecting to be assisted at the border, often for months or even in some cases for more than a year, separated from family, underfed. And then on top of that, the indignity of having their very few possessions stolen from them by the very government they had believed would help them. We've picked up people who walked out of that ICE building in Burlington wearing just a t-shirt and shorts in the middle of January. One particular case really stuck with me. About 2 years ago, a family of 5 was driving to the Canadian border, all Central American immigrants. The family was stopped by ICE on a remote stretch of highway in the US just before the border, like 5 miles. The woman and 2 younger children showed their IDs, proving they were here legally. The other 2, a father and his oldest son, were arrested as they were not here legally. The woman and 2 children were then brought back to the side of the road by their car in rural Vermont in the middle of the night, and no one spoke a word of English. The woman didn't know how to drive a car. Her 10-year-old son drove the car all the way back to the Boston area where they knew they had one volunteer's address. So Beyond put the family up in someone's house. They raised money for legal expenses and eventually were able to bond these 2 men out. I happened to be the person that picked them up in Burlington and dropped them off outside their house where they would be staying, and suddenly the entire family ran out of the house. Everyone was hugging and crying. To this day, I still don't know why the US just didn't let the people pass through to Canada where they'd be welcomed. Actually, I do. It cost $20,000 for Beyond to bond them out. And meanwhile, the private prison system got to charge the government to keep these men in jail for over 4 months. In the ICE office, I've heard heartless conversations where people who cannot speak the language were treated with disdain and disrespect. And every single time we'd figure out a new ICE requirement, they would change it. Maybe they weren't doing it on purpose, but it sure felt like it. So if that seems horrific, those were the good old days. A double pandemic made things which were already so difficult so much worse. First, the Remain in Mexico policy meant that fewer immigrants were able to get across the US border at all. And those who were already here were eking out living in crowded apartments, afraid to apply for desperately needed help for fear of deportation. Then COVID hit, and these new immigrants, again, almost all people of color, they were the service people in grocery stores, restaurant cooks, cleaning staff. They were getting COVID at very high rates. They lost their jobs, and by the time they were well enough to return, the restaurants and businesses they had worked for were closed. For them, there was no unemployment. There was no stimulus checks, only eviction notices. And when you're not on the lease, there is no opportunity to get housing assistance. If the landlord says, leave or I'll turn you in, you leave that night. Beyond did a sharp pivot at this point, shifting from court accompaniment and bonding out of ICE to doing everything and anything to support these newly arrived immigrants. We've all learned how to fill in housing paperwork for those we can get assistance for, found temporary homes for people to stay in. We've arranged for doctor's appointments and lawyers at lawyers' offices. Beyond has a WhatsApp, a community bulletin board where people can share information on housing, jobs, translation help, and just get emotional support. When we couldn't find volunteers who could drive people places anymore due to COVID, Beyond started a system where a volunteer pays for the round trip on Uber, and then people just start Venmoing her until she's repaid. I helped one woman very recently who had all her documentation stolen while in detention. She's here legally, but can't prove it. She had no choice but to take a service industry job despite being well qualified for other higher paying work. Then she got COVID, and she was in a coma for a while. Somehow managed to survive, only to now be facing eviction because she still can't recover her documentation to work. Christmas gifts, baby diapers, blankets, jackets, gift cards, Grubhub deliveries when families literally have nothing in the refrigerator, $500 grants just to get people by to get food or pay some bills. Beyond has no paid staff. It's 100% volunteer. I think we're putting a link in the chat. And I just wanted you to know that 100% of what, if anyone's interested in giving, goes to the people we're helping. And one more thing about the link, it looks like it's Boston Workmen's Circle. We're using them as sort of the people that do the logistics of getting the money to the people. In conclusion, I just want to read what's at the bottom of all emails sent by Beyond. Our values. We honor people's dignity and choices in a system that denies dignity and choice. We expect messiness, confusion, and discomfort, and we also choose courage and trust. We judge the system, not the people. We fight for one another as family because we are. Thank you.
Minnie, thank you so much for sharing this. It's so difficult to hear, and it's so painful to hear, and it's so important that we hear this. And while we're not going to share the chat tonight, because we have people watching on YouTube and on Facebook who won't be able to see it, we are going to put it in Monday's update. It'll be right on the top. So for everybody here and for everybody who's not here, and if you'd like to donate tonight because you are so moved, that you just go to their website. If you just Google BIJAN, you will find the website and can donate. And I'm just thinking that one of our fifth graders here has a sister whose bat mitzvah is coming up really soon, and we were talking about, she was saying, I'm so happy to know what Judaism believes in. Like, I've always wanted to know, what do we believe in? And this is an example. This is what we believe in. We believe in helping other people because we know what it's like. We know what it was like to be strangers. That's what it says in the Torah at least 36 times. And so Minnie brings this to us from her experience, and for so many of us who have worked on immigration issues in this congregation and will continue to do so. It's a strong commitment. So on the Shabbat, our Aleinu for tonight are the words Hareini Mikabel, and we say Ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. These three words that come from right in the middle of the book of Leviticus, to love our fellow human as ourselves. This is what is upon us. This is the commitment we make. Hareini mekabel alai et mitzvat haboreh ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, reacha kamocha. Hareini mekabelet alai et mitzvat haboreh ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, reacha kamocha. I love seeing all the thank yous and all the gratitude coming through the chat to you, and really on behalf of us all, thank you for sharing those words. And we're coming to near the end of our service tonight, and we turn to the words of Mourner's Kaddish. And remembering tonight, especially on this year anniversary, remembering tonight the approximately 528,000 people who have died of COVID in this country, and the nearly 2.5 million around the world. And still in this time of Shloshim, we remember Matt Lunan, Meryl's father, and Cheryl Ruxin, mother of Bob Ruxin, as well as Ron Denhart. The yahrzeits for tonight are Arthur Kling, David's father, Hillary Zwicker's father, Harold Cohen, Anna Cohen Levine, Maura Albert's mother, Charlotte Oram, Andy's mother, Theodore Saltzman, Roberta Lasky's uncle, Bernard Klein, Judy Balfine's uncle, and Doris Gazin, aunt of Toby Schwartzman. This is her second yahrzeit. And still in this year of remembering, and we invite you, of course, to add in your loved ones' names into the chat wherever you are, or to hold your loved ones in your heart. In this year of remembering, we think of Billy Mortel, of Helen Crancer, of Myra Perez, Ida Burchard, Jim Medford, Jerry Sachs, Shirley Siegel, and Jack Langerman. And we join our words together, our voices together in the words of Mourner's Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'galal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom mimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May God, who is the source of the idea of wholeness and peace, give us the courage to work for the whole world, so that all may dwell in peace in their homes and find peace where they are. Let us be partners in that endeavor together. As we remember those who came before and pledge to those who come after, a world renewed, let us say, Amen.
So fifth graders, what a wonderful thing to spend this Shabbat evening with you. We are so happy. Will you give us another wave just so we can see you again? It's beautiful to see you in the glow of those candles. Oh my gosh. Bryce, you are lit up by those candles. We are excited. Oh, nice, Bryce. We are so excited also to have some time with you on Sunday morning. If you are available for those 20 minutes, we'd love to gather, gathering strength from each other. A shout out again to Bailey Starr for leading this very, very strong school that we have that is full of heart and full of learning. And we thought we would end tonight's service by singing This Pretty Planet, a fifth grade favorite, and one of my favorites too. And may this be a peaceful Shabbat. You ready? This pretty planet spinning through space, you're a garden, you're a harbor, you're a holy place. Golden sun going down, gentle blue giant, spin us around all through the night. Safe till the morning light. Here we go. This pretty planet spinning through space. You're a garden, you're a harbor, you're a holy place. Golden sun going down, gentle blue giant, spin us around all through the night. Safe till coming down. Gentle blue giant, spin us around all through the night. Safe till the morning light, all through the night. Safe till the morning light. Shabbat.